Okay, hello, welcome to this video. So we've gone through some classes and object revision in the last video by changing this temperature in degrees Fahrenheit to degrees C. Okay, so that's one. So let's go on to our next part, which is talking about what are models, what are views, what are controllers. So some videos I found very helpful are from Prajim Technology, Prajim Tech. This could cut the channel, very helpful. This ASP.NET Core tutorial for beginners, I will put it in the description. And then yeah, he goes on very early talking about models, views, and controllers around this video 15. Yeah, okay, video 15 is where he starts talking about models, views, and controllers, what they are about. Okay, and then you can watch a little bit more. He's really way more detailed than I will be. I only learned enough just to get things working. Okay, so that's my philosophy here. So let's talk about models, views, and controllers in a nutshell, or just for the sake of getting things done quickly. So in a website, when you send a request to a website, alright, so your request, like you ask for a page or you press the submit button, you're telling the website to do something on their website computer, otherwise known as the server. Okay, and your computer is actually known as the client. Why are you known as the client and why is this known as the server? Because you are asking the website for information and they are serving you information. So this whole idea of client and server should be thought of like that. The client is requesting for information or requesting something, and the server is there, okay, I will give you the information. So this is what clients and servers are about. Okay, so whenever you hear of this term client and server, just think of who's giving who information. Okay, most of the time it's like that. Okay, doesn't have to be like that, especially nowadays they can be muddled with but the basic understanding of client and server should be like that. Okay, so when a request comes in, the website will have to process the request. Okay, you need to process the request, and then maybe this request, like over here you have a form, you're giving in some data, you need to process that data. So you need to process the request. The data in the request needs to be processed, and just like for my case, we actually use conversion. We actually need to convert the data, like from a Fahrenheit to degree C or degree C to Fahrenheit, and then we need to find a way of displaying that data. Okay, so this is the basic idea. There are lots of things going on. The server, once it receives your HTTP request, your web request, in other words, it will have to process your request. Then it will have to show you, it will have to take your data, it will do something with your data, and then it will display the data on a HTML web page, and then send the HTML web page back to you. So so that's why you can see this HTML web page. So when you type maybe 28 degrees Celsius, you are sending this. This is the client. This is the web browser, which is a client. When you press convert, you're sending that information over to the web server. The web server is actually what's going on over here. It is what is the whole deal. It's running this web server on localhost 7260, something like that. So that's the website web server. So it's taking your data 28 degrees C and it's trying to think, what am I supposed to do with this 28 degrees C? Well, as we see in the form, we actually told them what to do, right? You're supposed to have this form which is converted into a number, and then once you have this number, you're supposed to convert it to degree C or degrees Fahrenheit, from Fahrenheit to degree C like here, or degree C to Fahrenheit right here. Okay, all of this is under this test page model thing. So we're going to talk about that. Alright, why is this called a model? Okay, so once this function here processes the data, it will store this into the view data thing, and then you will be able to see your view data right here. Okay, you'll see your view data right here, output C to F. You mean your data is being shipped back to the customer or the client. Okay, and then you will be able to see this, right? You need to be able to present the view. Alright, you present the page where the customer or the client can see the relevant information. So this is all the things that are going on. So you have a request, and then you have to display your data and then send it back to the client. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on here. Okay, there are lots of processes going on here, and it's good to actually make sense of what processes and get things organized a little bit. Right, so okay, let's begin with something pretty important. Okay, how do we store data on the website? Okay, how do you store data before you start processing? Okay, so how do you store data and process data? Okay, to store data, we actually use classes in them. We actually use classes. Alright, like you see here, we put some of this data inside a function inside the class, but we can also store the data in the class like that. Alright, so we can put let's say, instead of defining the data double temp_f here, I can put temp_f public double temp_f. Okay, and somehow this piece of data will be stored inside this class right here. Okay, public double temp_f. So this public double temp_f is a piece of data that I can store inside my class. Alright, and you can either store it at the class level or at the function level. But for function level, once you finish that function, the whole what do you call that? All these variables will just disappear. Okay, it will be deleted. Okay, at least if you have the object around and you finish the function within the object, all your data within the object will also it will stay around. It will stick around. So long story short, you can use classes to store data. You can use classes to store data. Use classes to store data. Let me write that better. Classes to store data. Okay, you can use classes to store data, right? And well, what do we call these kind of classes? Okay, we call these kind of classes models. Okay, we call these kind of classes models. Any class that's used to store data or deal with the storing of data or to retrieve data, this is what we call the model. Okay, so when you hear of models, views, and controllers, well, models are nothing but classes which specialize in storing data. Okay, so in fact over here, instead of using the word data, we can use the word model, which is the term you see on the internet a lot. So that's what models are. Okay, so well, and now of course you need to process the data, right? Okay, when you actually perform calculations on your data and you send or retrieve your data, anything that deals with data, your models, which are classes, we should also have functions to manipulate your data. Manipulate data. That means perform conversions, retrieve data, delete data, anything. Retrieve data or edit, even edit. So editing is a very big subset. I mean, you can have the conversion things that we did just now. We can add new pieces of data, we can take it out. All this will be all these functions are also known as methods. They will be stored under the models. These are classes that deal with the data that are coming in. So if you're doing engineering calculations or whatever, a lot of calculations that deal with data, all of this will be stored under models. Alright, so once your data is sort of done processing your data, you need to present it back to the viewer, to the client, right? So you want your client to be able to view the data, right? So what is the next step? Once you finish your data processing, like your temperature conversion, everything, so let me maybe I need to erase this. I have a big eraser. Yeah, this is good. So alright, so you need to process a request. So roughly speaking, you need to send it to the model. Okay, the model, once it's done, it will need to display the data. Okay, so where does it display the data? Okay, let me eraser here. Where does it display the data? Well, yeah, you need a web page, right? You need a web page to display the data. So your web page displaying the data is over here, right? It's displaying the view data right here, and this is also known as a view. Okay, that's why you have this thing called view data over here, because this web page here is for your user, your client, to actually view all the data that you process and present it back in a nice manner. So you need to present all this data in a nice web page, and this web page is also known as a view. Okay, so this web page is responsible for putting all that data together and presenting it in a nice manner back to the user. So views are like this. You're looking, like, literally you're viewing the view. You're looking at the view right now, right? So the view is just there to help you present data. Okay, so the view is here to help you present data, right? Yeah, the view is here to help you present data. There should be nothing else over here. So the first few videos where I was writing C# code over here, that's not the correct way of doing things. I was just exploring. Yeah, so as I learn, I mean, we will just try things as a sandbox way, just to start learning. But once we roughly know what's going on, we need to sort of adjust to the more proper way of doing things. So we need to shift it such that, you know, this CSHTML is only responsible for displaying data here. It should not do anything else other than display data and give a user input, because this view also allows the user to give inputs into the page, right? So okay, so a model will calculate data for the view, and then it will be sent back to the user. Okay, who's in charge of making sure that the model actually passes the things correctly to the view? Or you know, when you type in your request, okay, your request somehow magically appears at the model here. Of course, you use this HTTP the request form, this function in the request form to retrieve data, right? So now who's responsible for so-called this whole process, right? So actually behind the scenes there are a few other functions that are, you know, processing your client request, your client request. So that, let's say I want to convert 32 degrees Celsius, right? So, and then I hit the submit button. This submit button will go to the server. Then the server has to figure out what am I supposed to do with your request, right? So do I send it to the model? Do I go straight to the view or something? Okay, so there will be another set of classes which actually deals with this. These are known as controller classes. Yeah. Okay, controller classes don't deal with the data as much, but they make sure the relevant pieces of data go to the correct places. For example, the data if this 32 degrees Fahrenheit Celsius is meant for the model, the controller will make sure that this data actually lands here. And then once the model is done with the processing of data, how does the page know how to once the processor is done with this data, well, the view page can automatically retrieve the code from the model, okay, because remember we see the model is over here. This is our model, which actually deals with data. Then after that we specify that we need to store it under this view data attribute, and then view data variable or attribute, whatever. Then we need to somehow display it over here. So the model knows how to send the data to the view using this well, you can call this view data. You might see some other people using this thing called view back or whatever. So all of these are, you know, sort of coded into the system, okay, and then once your web page is finished, okay, it needs to be sent back to the client. So who deals with this? Who's responsible for sending a web page back to the client? Well, again, it is this controller guy, which is responsible for sending the view back to the client. It's responsible for processing all the behind the scenes things which you don't really see. Okay, so for the most part, if you are doing web design and stuff, you need to know what this controller thing is in order to make sure pages look correctly and the navigation works correctly. But if you're just interested in the calculation and dealing with data and displaying data, then you just deal with the model and view. Okay, controllers are for all this other stuff. This is stuff that web developers will do. So over here we have a sort of a system where we have a controller, we have the model, we have the view, and that's just to help us make sense and control all the things going on. Let's organize things together. Okay, otherwise this is known as MVC. Okay. Okay, I may not get everything right, but if you want to look at more details, do look at Prajimtek's ASP.NET Core tutorial for beginners. He goes through it in much more detail, probably better than I. He's the expert. I'm just beginning. So yeah, that's all for MVC. Okay, good place to look is this place, and give a lot of credit to him. I learned a lot. All right, hey, see you.